Hello, good day, and welcome. My name is Rachel, and let's have another update for Starbound, because the last Sunday, a new patch came to Starbound, which got it into the Furious Koala update instead of the Angry Koala update. And that update, of course, came with some changes. And Chucklefish has set all these changes into two different categories: code changes and the so-called fun changes. And the code changes are, first of all, they have made the saving system in a way that they, hopefully, no longer will need to wipe characters and ships, which I think is amazing. We were already warned many times, it stood on their website, it stood on their page when you bought the beta, that if you bought the game now and you got beta access, then you should not get too attached to your characters, because they could end up getting wiped. But now that this is no longer an issue, then I think you can really get attached to your characters and really start to explore the whole universe with your character and really see them grow. Another thing is, with this new system, then they hope that they will no longer have to wipe worlds. But they didn't sound all that sure about that when you compared to that they were definitely sure that the character wipes should no longer exist. Another thing that they added, and I think this is, if you've seen my previous videos, especially with Terraria, is that they have added new difficulty levels, so you can have the experience that you want to play compared to how hardcore a gamer you are. But the thing that I'm most excited about is the addition of permadeath, which, if you have seen my Terraria run and my Don't Starve run, then permadeath in such games is quite fun and can be really, really rewarding when you can see all your work that you've done and you manage to survive, and that really makes you play the game in a whole new way, and I think it's a great addition to the game. Some of the other things that they've made is that they have tweaked the game's code, so that the startup time for Starbound should be increased, which I think is great, because as of now, I think it was a little bit high, especially since it's in beta state. Then I wasn't always sure if it was starting up or if the game was crashing. But the startup time should have been increased. Also, because of the way they did it, and I don't want to go into technical details here because I'm not really sure how they did it, but they also, on the same note, made modding a lot easier, or at least they say so. And that is great for me. I personally enjoy seeing mods, and I see what kind of crazy stuff the community can come up with. Especially if you saw the last update, then I reported the ship mod that replaced your standard ship with a wooden ship that you could totally pull apart and then make that your home instead of the different planets. And I talked all about why I think that was great on that video. And otherwise, for the game's code, they presented some bug fixes, big and small, and just, you can see that they're just, in general, trying to make the game more stable and more fun. The fun changes is a whole nother thing. First of all, it's no longer holiday season, and it hasn't been for quite some time. But that also means that you can no longer get the Holiday Spirit item in the game. But I could presume that you can get all those items back when the Christmas comes around, or the holidays come around next year, or this year. Another thing that they changed is in Sector X. Now, if you're playing on a network, then PvP is forced enabled on the Sector X, which is the fifth and final sector in Starbound. And if you're in that sector, then other players will be able to kill you, no matter what. And I think that's kind of interesting, that if you don't want to play around, if you just want to play around and have fun with people, then you can be on a server that won't allow PvP, but you can only go to the Sector Delta. And I don't really know if I agree with that. I don't really know if I don't agree with it, because it will make the whole game play in another way. Since if you want to have first of all, you can be sure that you won't be griefed by some high-level character that already is in Sector X, just travels around in Sector Alpha and makes people's life miserable. And so he will only be able to grief players that are maybe not as high with higher level gear as he is, but at least at somewhat the same level if you're playing on a non-PvP server. And I think that is great, but if you want to play on if you don't want to PvP at all, then that feature limits your possibilities of doing that. One other thing though is that they now made player drops persistent, and I think that is great, especially with the new added difficulty levels and options to drop your items at another difficulty level when you die and you respawn. So by making player drops persistent, which they weren't before, is that when you die, all your items will drop. Or if you accidentally dropped an item down some hole, I think they give the example if you drop your diamond drill, which is hell of a lot valuable, down into, I think it was a lava pit, then you shouldn't suicide rush down to get it back. It is still laying there, you can dig all the way down safely, it will be there when you get down there, and you don't need to rush to get it. And I think that's just plain great. I don't really have anything to say about that. One thing though I want to say something about is they've changed the sword swings from 0.9 seconds duration to only 0.6 seconds, which I think it makes the combat a lot more tactical and also a lot faster than it already is, and I've already commented on that. I think the Starbound, it has a great combat system, it's a lot of fun, but it is also really, really fast, and sometimes it is a little difficult to keep up. But when you are really successful with the combat system, then I think that Starbound has a really, really great combat system. So making it even faster, then let's see how it goes. It'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Also, they changed the legendary weapons to be even more legendary, they state, to make them even more powerful than they already were. Apparently, legendary weapons wasn't all that great, wasn't all that special, but now they should be. And otherwise, they just added a bunch of new stuff. They added a new biome, which is the Savannah. And they added new items, new chests, new gear, new monster attacks, so we'll have more monster variety if that wasn't enough. And they also said there's a lot of secret stuff, and I think that just adds to the whole concept of Starbound, that you explore the stars and you explore new things, and then you get blown to pieces because you're not prepared. But I think it's just adds to the game, and I think it's great that they're not revealing everything, that they're still leaving some things for the players to explore and find and communicate about. And lastly, they report that they have made a lot of graphical tweaks to make the game look plain better, which is always nice. And that pretty much sums it up for the Furious Koala update. Update for the channel. I will, as I promised, start uploading regularly throughout February and hopefully beyond. I will try to make it a weekly deal, but I can't really promise anything of how often I'll update. But my goal is to have at least once a week, and hopefully even more often than that. But until then, my name has been Raidstrako. It has been a pleasure having you throughout this update reveal, and I'll hopefully see you again at another time. But until then, have a good day, and cheers.